Hi everyone, this is Dami here. I'm going to basically just demonstrate how I do the processing on my mix bus. In this case, it's mainly just the analog gear that I'm going to be using on the mix bus, which is kind of what I do when I mix hybrid. So no plugins, just pure analog here. All right, so without wasting much time, we can just jump right in. All right, so just a quick housekeeping stuff right here. I'm sending just a 2-track. So I'm sending from my DAW into the Neve summing mixer right here, the Orbit. Then it's going directly into the Elysia X filter. It's going into the Tegular tube compressor, into the synth EQ, the MBP, and then the converter right here. Okay, so basically right there, I just engaged the silk and you can hear how it lifted the low end. Very nice in a very smooth way. I might come back to the trim and adjust it, but for now, I think at 50% is fine. So I'm going to move next to the Elysia X filter right here. All right, so that's the X filter right here. The high mid, I'm not doing much on there. I'm actually not doing anything on the high mid. I can easily boost the 2K range, but seems it was getting a little bit harsh when it gets to the chorus. And then right here around 8K, I'm boosting 2 dB or so. And then I was also playing with the Q right here. I'm engaging the narrow Q. That's a very good thing with this EQ here, and it's a mastering EQ, so it helps you to narrow that Q, and you can actually hear how it impacts the band that you are working on. Okay, so I hope you can hear that. Just clean up the entire mix. So okay, I didn't mention that. So there's a boost around 40 right here. There's a cut around, that's like maybe 250-ish right here. And then I'm also cutting around 1K right here too. And then I'm boosting about 2.5 around 8K. So that's that. Now let's move to the tequila right here. So one thing I'm doing right now with the tequila is I'm using the color mode as bypass mode, basically, right? Because when I bypass it, actual bypass, the volume is kind of too loud. So fast release right here, that's kind of working well. Okay, so that sounds good. What you can hear with the tequila, and that's why I like it, is the warmth and the weight it adds to the entire mix. Also, it's worth noting that this is currently set to 60 hertz, the sidechain low cut. So it's basically only affecting everything 60 hertz and above. So I'm going to actually move that to 120. 120, so it keeps our low end. Anything below 120 now is not going to get compressed. So I'm going to increase the gain. So I mean, this is interesting, right? I like it at 60. I just think even though it's compressing, everything below 60 kind of adds some interesting stuff to the song. So I'll leave it at that. Let's okay, kind of changed my mind on that. I think 120 is fine. Now I'm only just compressing. It's not even up to 1 dB, but you can feel exactly what you're doing. So let's move to the synth EQ. I keep saying synth, but it's not synth. It's synth EQ. Usually I use that in the mid-side mode. Sometimes I'm skeptical with no mid-side, but I've been using it. I don't change it. If it's adding any phase stuff, if it's adding it, I guess maybe it's been an advantage for me, because I've not really heard anything that will make me question if it's doing anything to the phase. But so far we're using it in the mid-side mode. So now the left side here is your mid and this is your side. I'm going to play and then just work on that. All right, so I mean, you can hear exactly what the same thing is doing, and I'm just gonna run over exactly what I'm doing, starting from on the mid side right here. I'm rolling off about 22 hertz on the mid, and I think when you're in mid side mode, that's about maybe 6 dB per octave. So it's still gonna let a lot of the low end go through, but I don't want to go too drastic. So 22, and then on the high end, on the mid side, I set this to, and all of this is shelved by the way. I set this to 10, and I'm boosting like 4 dB at 10 kilohertz, 4 dB. And then on the low end, I set it to 100. That's kind of where I leave it. And 160 works where. The reason I'm using 100 is because I'm boosting it already like 40 hertz here. So I leave that at 100 to help the bass and some kick. But if that's the only EQ I have, I usually will play around with 60 and 100. Now, that is the low end. That is the mid side, I mean the mid. On the side, I selected 12 kilohertz here and I'm boosting 3 dB. And I'm making this drastic move, especially in the middle because we don't have vocals in there. But on the side here, I'm boosting like 12 kilohertz, I'm boosting 3 dB. And then on the low side, I'm cutting around like 360. I just dialed that in to see, okay, does it help the mix or not? I don't know what exactly 360 sounds like, so I'm cutting about, I think, just 1 dB there, the 1 dB, and then I'm rolling off on the side anything below 47. I'm rolling that off. I can also use some low pass filter on here and set that to 30 or 22. Most times I can go 22, that's fine. So let's play that again. I'm gonna go in and out. Okay, so that's good. I just realized this is already working on the neve right there. The width and the depth is already working here. So I just turn that off. Now, that is that on the synth EQ. We're gonna go to the next compressor. So what I've done here is, here's my, I kind of call this my saturation box. EQ, clean up, compress, and then I've gone to, after I've compressed, going back to EQ again to bring some of those just additional EQ. And then I'm going next to the neve particle. So most times I do not use these two compressors. I only just choose which one to use. All right, let's play the track. maybe for the first time ever, the width, me pushing it almost like right here at 50 or 3 o'clock, doesn't actually sound bad. I never actually reached there, like I said in my previous video, right? I mostly just go 2 clicks. Maybe because this is just an instrument track. It's okay. I'm gonna play that again and I want to hear what it's doing, especially to my low end. Yeah, so going too far definitely affects the low end, but the depth is what I'm going to use to bring. I think in my mind, what the depth to my ears, what it does is it mostly focuses on the middle instrument, your mid. That's what I kind of hear. So your kick drum, your bass, any low end instrument in the middle kind of brings it up in the mix, like forward. That's how I can interpret what the depth is doing. So I'm going to still keep this as drastic as it is. I try and use the depth to see what I can do. Okay, so interesting. And then as you can see, my attack and release settings too. I think when I had the fastest release on there, it was too not nice, not smooth. It's like I'm forcing the music to, I don't know, just felt it didn't feel too smooth. So I kind of, though it's still fast, but I reduced it slightly. So this is the release setting right here. And then my attack 2 is set to 3 o'clock, release is set to 9 o'clock. And then I also use the silk mode, which is a red. When I play it, you can hear how I had to kind of turn that down a little bit. So let's move on to the last thing on the chain, which is the converter right here, the MBC. And the MBC is very, very good. Lately, I started using the limiter. When I got it, I played around with it. But now the limiter actually saved me on one of the songs that I just worked on, where the snare and the drum had to be loud in that song. But then the limiter really helped me to control that and made it smooth. It was a little bit harshy before, too transienty, if I can use that word. But this actually really made it really smooth. So, but outside of that, it has a transformer, which is why I like it. And then an additional silk mode in there, which we're going to use. Now, the silk mode on that one definitely sounds different from the silk on this one. It's a little bit more maybe gentle, soft, kind of different. That's all I know. So that's that. Let's just play it. I don't even know what I'm going to show you. We're going to test the limiter and then we're going to bring the transformer in and out. You can use the transformer without the silk mode, but in this case, I will try the silk mode and let's see. Right, so I kind of just cranked it up so you can hear. So I'm using the red on there with the transformer. For this example, no vocals, so it seems like I have the liberty, right, to push the upper mids. Let's just go back to maybe a quiet part of the song and then just listen. Maybe halfway through the verse here. And I'm gonna try and bypass some of this. Here. Okay, yeah, the synth sounds nice. I hope I'm not hearing something, but we're just gonna keep it at that. Um, it's hard to really gain match all of this stuff. It's hard, but I'm sure you can just hear the difference. But yeah, so this is kind of my mix bus process. I kind of like what this is doing. I removed it at first. I love what it was doing, especially just like I said, the weight that it's adding into the track. It's pretty remarkable, right? The synth EQ. There was something I was listening for as it relates to the low end. So I'm going to actually play that again. Yeah, there's something like to that low end. It's like I feel like I'm losing low end. Okay, let me make sure. Let me remove the high pass filter on there. Okay, that's what it is. So I'll just set it to 15. There you go. Of course, you can hear the weight from those EQ boost right there. So let me play the chorus. I might have gone crazy with the top end on the side, but that's okay, right? For now, it's just a demonstration. All right, so that is that on my end when it comes to the way I approach my mix bus processing in the analog domain. So I hope this was helpful. Please, if you find this content so inspiring or you like it, don't forget to like, and also don't forget to subscribe. And the other thing you can do is leave some comments on how this has helped you so far or what you're going to do with this idea. And also let me know if you have any comments, any question. You can just drop them down in the comment section below. Most times I read them and I respond as I have the time to do now. I respond, and if you have questions, I will do my best to give you an answer according to my knowledge. So thank you again so much for watching. God bless you. Bye bye.